And then on I Got the Feeling was the next single, at least I knew of, that you had. And that one, of course, it has a lot of the things that became so famous with rap with James Brown and Lynn Collins and Bobby Bird, all the different samples put together. So for you artistically, what did those beats bring out of you, do you think?
Those, I've always loved musical type of songs, you know what I'm saying? And those songs were so rich, those samples were so rich that it was just, I don't know, it just brought something out of me. I Got the Feeling is just like, I love that record. That record took me all over the place. A lot of people, especially in New York, they don't know that was my biggest record. It's My Beat was not my biggest record. I Got the Feeling was my biggest record. And I love that song. Like Red Alert in New York, he decided that It's Like That, Y'all, on the B-side was going to be the favorite record. So he pumped that record. So New York knows the B-side of, that single. They don't know I Got the Feeling. I mean, to the point, like maybe 3 years ago, one of my friends called me and said, "Oh my God, did you make a new record?" Apparently they had played I Got the Feeling on a radio station. And I was like, no, it's not. That's not new.
Yeah, it was new in 87.
Yeah, I don't rhyme like that now anyway. So no, that's not new.
Well, that's wild.
And Jazzy Joyce. I don't know what happened, but Jazzy Joyce, after I made It's My Beat, it was recorded. I went to a park and I saw her DJ and I thought she was amazing. So I talked to her and I said, "Yo, let's do something together." And then she we went, did a few rehearsals, and then I approached the label with it. And I said, I would like for the record to say Sweet Tea and Jazzy Joyce. And I would like to now become like a group, you know what I mean, with her, And I added a fourth verse to It's My Beat. It only had 3 verses, and there's a fourth verse on it because I wanted to make sure that Jazzy Joyce had her name mentioned and enough so she can cut. So that's why I did Jazzy Joyce on the wheels, Jazzy Joyce, no one better, Jazzy Joyce. And I did that on purpose. And I said it in 3 different octaves so that she would have her name in 3 different octaves, like from my mouth to cut in our shows. So, we got, I went in and did that fourth verse to put her on there. And, for the time that we were together, it was, we did some great shows. We really did.
And Digwell Planets, you got to shout them out there.
Yeah.
So
she went last year. She went.
Well, good reference too. But one of the other things, in addition to the rich thing that's interesting that you said that is that It's Tea Time, the debut album, had a lot of having that live bass and that live guitar on the music because at that point in 87, 88, a lot of the music, as you know, was going strictly to sampling or largely to sampling. So was that purely a Herbie decision, or did you also want to make sure to have live instrumentation in your music?
Well, I think at that particular time, sampling, that was just the ride that everybody was on. Just, grab a record with a good sample on it. And, Herbie accented everything and, took everything to another level when you're in the studio. And that was just, I don't know, that was just the feeling at the time. That was the music,
And what do you think, though, having the guitar and the bass, the live guitar and bass on It's Tea Time meant as far as musically? What did that add to the album, do you think?
Well, I mean, I think it enhanced the samples and it made the the songs richer, for the records that he did put it on. I wasn't there at all production sessions, so I'm not sure like everywhere where he might have tucked something in there, but You know, anytime he did add music to it, it was for just to enhance the record and just make it bigger, you know?
Okay.
So.
Gotcha. And then back to On a Smooth Tip for a second. One of the other things I thought was interesting on that one was how you had a lot of like scientifical and medical references on there. So what was that about?
I don't know. Don't ask me. You know, let me tell you something. You would sit there and write those songs, and you just listen to that music, and whatever it was throwing out, whatever was coming out your mind, you just wrote it down, and then just threw it together. And then if you started on a trend with something, you would like kind of work it through there a little bit. But you know, I just used to sit there and write. You know, and I guess that was the feeling I had at the time when I wrote it.
Okay.
I don't think that I had like a plan. I think, you know, give me the sample, give me the music. Herbie would give me the samples or give me the track and say, write to it. And I would just give the track what I thought, you know, whatever came to mind, whatever came to me.
And what was the significance for you of writing? Were you ever wanting to collaborate, or were you like, no, I got to write all this by myself? Or like, how did that work?
Well, it wasn't really a choice at the time. You know, it wasn't like, you know, I guess with Herbie, it was always a thing where it's toy, here's the music. Now, if I needed help and I was like, you know, maybe stuck with something, and Herbie would say, well, don't say it that way, say it this way. That probably sounds better. And he would, you know, he would really try to, you know, conduct it and say, yo, that line's too rushy, or he'll help me with that, because that was like my first time doing a full studio recording of an album. I went straight from the streets to recording an album. So there was, you know, I'm sure there was some help in there. I know there was some help in there, but it wasn't a thing where I needed someone to write at the time. You know, it's like you gave me the beat and then I'm going to say, here's a record, you know? So it had my full attention,
Right.
full attention.
Well, that always impressed me too, because like on Let's Dance, when you're like talking about being hard as hell with a feminine touch,
That's a record.
Yeah, I like that one too. But you had like a couple references like that. So how did you balance trying to be harder with the rhymes but still being effeminate?
Well, I mean, I thought that like I needed for people to know on the album, don't get it twisted, that like I could spit, you know what I mean? So I felt like, I had to put an element like that on the album and just like, rhyme harder. And cause when I, before I started making records, you were in the park, you were in the park. It would be a park jam. There would be, something in the park, and it's mostly guys. So you needed to always know that you had something that was gonna, you know what I'm saying, that was gonna stand up. Like everything couldn't be cutesy. So I had that type of thing in me as well. So, I made sure I put some of that on the album.
Okay. Now, one of my favorites too, though, is Show and Prove. Because one, I really like.
Hitting the ball. You hitting the ball.
Well, that one, partially because I really like the sample, the JB sample in there.
Mm-hmm.
EPMD, of course, use that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I also liked how you were talking about rapping in German, Swedish, or Italian, because listening to it, and this is, 88-ish, it's like the idea of rap being so worldwide was like impressive to me. So do you remember anything in particular about why you were thinking worldwide or so big for that?
I know that I had gone out there. I went to London. I came back. I don't know whether that's where my mind expanded to at the time and said, let me write that in there. I don't have a particular thought about why I wrote that, but it was definitely a big thing that, going overseas, that was just like, that was a big thing, so that might have played a part in, why I wrote that, but I don't remember. I wouldn't remember.
Okay. And also, on there you're talking about like Till Your Ass Drops and stuff, which the album doesn't really have profanity, and this was right before the explosion of that for rap. So did you make a conscious decision not to really cuss on the project, or was that Herbie? Was that the label? Like, what was the idea of that?
You know what? It didn't cross my mind when I was writing the rhymes that they would be full of curses. I didn't have to edit. But when I did say a curse here and there, that was actually kind of like when I wrote it in there. You know, actually, I didn't know you could really do that. So I wasn't even thinking to curse because we weren't really cursing at all. You know, when I went and did my first show, I think it was me, Slick Rick, a couple of us, we had a show and we went, and we were like, who's this guy headlining over, especially Slick Rick, who's headlining over him? We didn't know who this guy was. And it was Eazy-E. And he just walked out on stage and said, bitch, better have my money. And our mouths dropped. You know what I'm saying? Because we were like, he is cursing up and stuff. Like we were in shock. Like, what is that about? So they kind of, some of the artists threw that cursing thing out there and it kind of normalized it, started making it okay to put it in there, but it didn't even dawn on me to just like curse through songs. I didn't do it in my rhymes in the street, and I didn't do it in songs. We weren't really cursing like that, you know? So.
Yeah, well, speaking of Eazy-E, with Let the Jingle Bells Rock, they sampled you for radio, which I always was pleasantly shocked that they used a Christmas song for what they were doing. So what was your reaction the first time you heard the Eazy-E radio song?
The Eazy-E radio song, what are you talking about?
In the very beginning, they sample you. In the I Prefer Hip Hop, yeah, it's on there. Or at least it sounds like it's you from that.
Well, now I have to go listen to it.
Let the Jingle Bells Rock.
Well, Let the Jingle Bells Rock is it's from my song, Let the Jingle Bells Rock. Okay.
Yeah, they sampled.
Oh, okay, well, I have to check that out. Like, I didn't hear that.
Listen to Eazy-E radio. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's from you. There's a part from you.
I'm going to check that out.
Yeah.
But I know one thing about the Let the Jingle Bells Rock. Herbie was like, you got to make a Christmas record. I was like, are you kidding me? You know, like, that was one of the ones like, really? And, yeah, we had to get together and get that record done. And once it was on the Christmas album, I was like, okay, it's kind of cool, you know. JetBlue has licensed it in the last couple of years to play on the airplane. And I was like, okay, you know, I have a Christmas record.
Did you perform that one a lot?
Huh?
Did you ever perform that or not much?
No, not at all. Not at all. I was not going to get on a hard hip hop stage and sing Let the Jingle Bells Rock. But if I had to perform it and we were having like a Christmas show with them, which I was never involved in a Christmas show to do that, I would have loved to perform that record.
Okay. Now, speaking of beats, As the Beat Goes On, to me was intriguing in the sense that it was a lot harder and faster, tempo-wise, than a lot of the album. But then you also said it was part 2 of It's My Beat. So what made you have that mind frame that this was kind of the continuation of that?
As the Beat Goes On has to be probably one of my go-tos when I listen to that album. And I love funky drummer with a passion. Like even right now, just on like if you went in my computer, I have the funky drummer instrumental. Like just sometimes I just play it and just rhyme. Like I love funky drama, so I couldn't let it go. I was like, yo, so let's make As the Beat Goes On, you know, and let me really rhyme on that record. And there wasn't a lot of, you know, because Herbie had his songs that he wanted for the album. You know, there was those key songs that were in there. And I just wanted to do that record, and he let me do it. He let me just spit on that record.